Hey everybody, welcome to Qué Golazo. It's our weekend recap. We have Manchester United beating Liverpool. We have Atalanta beating AC Milan. Who is the second best team in Germany? Who is the best male American player? We have this and so much more with Heath Pearce. Qué Golazo begins right now. Hey everybody, welcome to Qué Golazo pod, our weekend recap. And I have my man here, Heath Pearce. Heath, what's up, buddy?
Oh, man, a lot. Busy weekend. Not for me personally, but for other people that still play the game for a living. We're busy and lots to talk about.
Absolutely. Lots to talk about. And of course, Jimmy Conrad isn't here. Newcastle got embarrassed last night and he called me up late last night and he said, Luis, I can't take this. I can't face the world. I'm sorry. I will not be here. So please just take care of it without me. So Jimmy, I'm sorry. Heath and I will take care of it. I'm kidding. Jimmy can't make it for other obligations. Obviously, it's not because of that, but it's always good to make fun of his Newcastle.
Hey, seems a bit convenient, to be fair, though. You said you've linked his absence to the performances. I won't say it, but it does seem a little convenient in the state of Newcastle right now for Jimmy not to show up on a weekend recap.
That is very true, actually. That is true. He did conveniently time this one. He told me already. I remember us talking about Villa Newcastle, and then suddenly 2 minutes later, he's like, oh, by the way, I'm not going to be able to make it for a weekend recap. Interesting.
We'll let that simmer. You know, we don't do rumors and speculations on this podcast, obviously. But we'll let the people at home decide why Jimmy's not here.
Let the people decide. Absolutely. Well, anyway, as he said, a busy weekend of action, as always, of course, and we're here to talk about it. But I want to begin, Heath, before we break down Manchester United's win over Liverpool in the FA Cup, Atalanta beating AC Milan, the madness in the Bundesliga, et cetera, et cetera. I wanted to start actually with, I tweeted something earlier today, Heath, after the Juventus win, Weston Mckennie scoring again. And to be honest, I didn't really think it was that much of a polarizing tweet. I thought it was, some people call it bold, some people up for debate. I don't think so. Weston Mckennie is right now the best male American player, I think. I don't think there's an argument. What do you think?
Yeah, I think in terms of form, in terms of the club that he's playing at, in terms of the way he's impacting his team, right? He has to be, right? I think Gio Reyna was the most exciting prospect when Dortmund was on their run, a lot closer on a title race to Bayern. I think Hoppe is a bright, shining star for the moment, 19 years old, but obviously played against Bayern Munich this weekend and just looked way out of his depth, right? I mean, Schalke in general looked way out of their depth against a very good Bayern Munich squad, but it was tough for him to really find a way to get into a game. And obviously, when you put 11 far better players against that, whatever, it's a huge gap. But yeah, in terms of overall form, he's already got his first, quote unquote, silverware this year, and he keeps getting better, right? I think we, and not to go too much into this, when we used to look at these players, we'd see a player like a Weston Mckennie, and we just hope they would play well, right? Hope that they would do enough to be talked about amongst the group, where it wasn't just like pay attention to the American and everybody's excited. It was like, hopefully they get a goal or an assist and we'll be so excited because they're playing in a big league. But now you look at him and you're like, oh no, he's an actual contributor to a top team in the world right now, where he is actually we're not looking at him in the sense of saying, hey, please do something cool or do something good. Don't get subbed off at halftime. We're like, hey, he's a starter for Juventus. And even I had my doubts. I'm going to lose money this year because I bet on him not starting 50% of the games because I thought Pirlo would be under pressure. He'd go with veteran experience. I thought Archer would play more. I just thought it was going to be a tough thing. I thought that they would buy him, but anyways, I won't go off on that. I'm going to lose money because I didn't necessarily think he could do it. And now he's stepped into a higher, more attacking type of position and he's thriving, right? He's actually, and it's not about his quality. It's about how much better he's gotten since he's gotten there, right? It was about the potential and now that potential being realized, and his current form is now, I think, the level of Weston Mckennie. It's not the trend that he's on. He's not the best player right now. I do think other players, when they're in form, are better than him, but he is just becoming a better and better player and more consistent.
And you weren't the only one, by the way. A lot of people, when he joined Juventus on this loan move from Schalke, didn't necessarily say, he wasn't, going to be amazing, but they said, he, like you said, he probably won't get that many minutes. It's going to be very difficult in arguably a tougher league, in a giant of a club. But look what's happened. It's honestly incredible. And the thing is, like, in our 2020 wrap up with Jimmy, we gave the nominations and the awards for our favorite or best male player of 2020. The finals were Pulisic and Weston Mckennie. To me, Weston Mckennie won anyway. I just think like Pulisic right now is a little inconsistent, and through no fault of his own, he's been injury ridden for a while, and I haven't seen the best of him. Mainly that's also because of Chelsea's issues right now. But Weston Mckennie has delivered on multiple occasions for one of the biggest clubs in the world against some of the toughest oppositions. And to me, that just speaks volumes for what he's doing.
Yeah, you look at his goal this weekend, right? Header, but his confidence on the header, it comes into him and he's in the right spot. He's just, there's just something different about his game now. And it's just taking that next step. Let's not forget that when the Juventus rumor started, his other options were like Middlesbrough, and I don't remember who they were, but
Villa was maybe interested in getting him in West.
Right. And you think about his style of play and a workhorse, you're like, okay, fits well into the Premier League, right? Into a team that's going to need to grind out results or whatever. You don't necessarily, you didn't, or at least I didn't think Juventus. And then when I think about Pirlo, I'm like, okay, a new manager, he's going to be under pressure. They've got this dynasty. What happens when it's not working, right? They've been hit by COVID a few times, but he's been able to escape so much and play and be relied upon that he's now a mainstay. And not only that, but when he is getting his chances, he's scoring, he's getting into the attack, he's setting up plays, he's covering a lot of ground. When you watch him, when you watch the highlights even, he's in the box. He's late running in the box, or he's getting into the attack. When you watch Juventus defend in their box, he's in that box as well. Like, he's playing like a 6 on defense. He's dropping deep to cover angles, to support the fullbacks, things like that. And then in the attack, like, that type of energy and then the quality and confidence he has right now is just making him a different type of player, and one that we don't have to look through the lens of like a good American, but actually say that's a good, high quality player at a top club in the world right now.
So to you, best American male player in the world right now?
Yes. Yeah. Right now, for sure.
Thank you. I didn't think it was that much of a polarizing tweet, but there you go. But regardless,
by the way, what were people's arguments, or who else did they think?
I mean, some people were agreeing, but some people were saying, I think up for debate, et cetera, et cetera. But I honestly replied by saying, I don't think it's up for debate right now. I think it's a good argument to say that it's great to have this conversation, that there is mainly a debate in the first place for American talent. Imagine that right now, 2021, that you can have a conversation about saying, who is the best male American player in Europe? Wow. Because before it didn't used to be that, right? It used to be just one player, etc. Now you can have multiple discussions, as you mentioned. Girena, Pulisic, Zach Steffen doing well for Man City, of course, Sergiño Dest. Now you can say, wow, we have like a plethora of players that can do well. And if you're an American fan, that's nothing but good news.
Not to mention Tyler Adams, right? Tyler Adams starts in 3 positions for Leipzig, who are in second place in the Bundesliga right now.
And he scored, right?
Yeah, and he scored as well. And so, granted, it was his first ever Bundesliga goal, which is weird because he scored in the quarterfinals of Champions League for the same team. But and it was a rebound off the bar. But regardless, it was a goal, a big moment for him. But that's the thing, is we're having a conversation about who's the most in form, who's the best right now. And you have players playing at some really big clubs, as well as a player like Hoppy, who's in form and sort of a breakout star in the U.S. soccer circles at the moment.
And by the way, Brendan Aronson got some minutes today for RB Salzburg as well. So this just keeps getting better for USMNT. Final word.
Mark McKenzie also made his debut for Genk. Brendan Aronson looked really good. Had a few nice through balls. Came in like the last 20 minutes. I watched that game. It's a little bit of hard lighting, so it took me a while to find him on the pitch with the lighting of the stadium and the light, sun, and all that. But yeah, good debut. Mark McKenzie's less so. I think they lost to Bruges 3-2. I think they played in the 3-back line, but good to get his debut. He's going to learn a lot from this. He's going to be able to move on. But again, increasing the depth and the pressure of all players to perform if they want to get a spot in the national team right now.
Yeah, Genk did lose 3-2. And well, America, be very happy. Your women are the best team in the world, and your men are pushing and pushing to getting better. My God, no complaints from you and no excuses, by the way. as we look ahead to 2021. All right, when we come back, we will recap everything around the continent, including, of course, the FA Cup, Serie A, Bundesliga, etc. Stay right here. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Qué Golazo Pod. Myself and Heath Pearce as we, talk about everything that happened this weekend in the world of football, especially around the European continent. Let's begin in England and the FA Cup. For the neutral, Heath, super entertaining compared to what happened in the league that bore stalemate as Manchester United beats Liverpool 3-2. Mohamed Salah with a brace, but the partnership of Mason Greenwood and Marcus Rashford also got some goals, as well, of course, as the winner, Bruno Fernandes, with that beautiful free kick, making it 3-2 for Manchester United. They've moved to the next round where they'll face West Ham. Another loss for Liverpool, but this one was exciting. Lots of goals, lots of entertainment. Pretty good from Manchester United's perspective, but once again, Heath Pearce, Liverpool, and Jurgen Klopp lose one here, and they're out of the cup, so now they have their title in the league to defend and the Champions League. But a pretty good game overall.
Yeah, really good game. I thought that Man United looked really strong. They looked confident. I think my issue is that, again, Van de Beek, or am I pronouncing it wrong in the right way of saying it?
Yeah, that's fine. Van de Beek, right?
Yeah, Van de Beek. That's what it is. Bake, not Beek. He's one that, again, you can just see the frustration. I'd love to see him get more involved. There was a cutback early on that he wanted that wasn't actually open, and he kind of threw his hands into the air knowing that this is his big chance to score, and I don't even think the ball would have got to him. But would love to see him get into form again. Paul Pogba, when he plays fast, team good. Paul Pogba plays slow, team bad. And sometimes he settles into a game and can really kill the speed at which they attack and move the ball, and that frustrates me a little bit. But overall, an entertaining game. Liverpool opening up the scoring after really not having the ball at all for the first minutes of the game. Manchester United seemed to have the ball and really settle in quickly. But Liverpool, Mo Salah doing what they did, one chance, down to the goal, boom, bang, down 1-0. But overall, if you're a neutral, a really exciting game, especially for the FA Cup at this round. I think this is the furthest that Jurgen Klopp has ever gone as manager of Liverpool, or this round is where he seems to lose every time. I think that obviously helps Liverpool in the form that they're in, kind of focus on one less and focus on a few things that are probably a little bit bigger. The worst thing that can happen is to go long in a competition, but end up falling short, knowing that you got to manage those games. So it seems like it's not a huge priority, even though they did play a pretty good squad today. But for Manchester United, it's a huge moment for them to continue their run of form, to build their confidence going back into the league. I know a lot of people talk about, even myself at times, talk about the seriousness of FA Cup in this round, or how big of a quote unquote trophy is it. But when you win against a Liverpool, it is a huge win. And you could tell it was very sort of fundamental when the game ended. They just sort of shook hands and everybody went off. But deep down, if you're Manchester United, you're like, this was a huge win for us, right? It's a rival. It's we're in form right now. We're able to put a few more players onto the pitch and still get results. And so, yeah, I think overall, yeah, just a great entertaining match for a neutral like myself.
Yep, absolutely. And I concur with that as well. I think special mention to Luke Shaw. I thought he was pretty good today as well. There were a lot of defending issues from both teams, actually, which can be worrying, and also huge gaps in the midfield. So it's something for them to think about, especially if either team is trying to beat out Man City or even Leicester City, to be quite honest, for the Premier League. So that kind of performance shows that as well. I thought Thiago was poor. And, this is exactly why he was brought into this kind of squad, to make sure that not only does he move the chains, but he protects the midfield. But, I guess, I don't know, is it for another day? I mean, he's just recuperating from injury, but, it's still, this is why he came, right? Yeah.
And his ability to start to create attacking combination play with just off-footing a team or shifting it, his kind of cheeky little touches of combination play and things like that, I think are really useful. But however, like you said, to protect the back line and do some of those things, it was weird. There was a few of these direct diagonal balls that just went through today, and there was just these weird gaps that you don't expect in a game like this, where you would expect to be like sort of foundationally defensively strong and then build out from there to not give up anything. But it's a little more open than I expected, which makes for an entertaining game. But ultimately, that means Liverpool goes out.
Yeah, and the other thing was Liverpool's bench didn't help at all. The subs that came in, they really didn't do anything. Shariki, Origi, Sadio Mane, like they really didn't do anything to help out, which can be as well a little bit problematic. But anyway, Manchester United beat Liverpool, and now they'll face West Ham in the next round, and Liverpool are out, and that's another season where the FA, as you mentioned, listen, the FA Cup can mean different things to different teams, but as Jimmy always says, it doesn't matter until you get so much closer to try and winning it, until you reach the semis or the final. That's when it really matters. And the FA Cup is a big tournament, and this is one that Liverpool won't win it now.
Exactly. And I think if they win this game, or they come out of this alive, they take it a lot more serious. I think they did take it serious, but it becomes one of those things where, because they're in enough competitions, they can write it off and say one less thing to worry about or care about. Because look, you go deeper in the competition. If you're in Champions League and you're in the title race, and now you got FA Cup, you kind of you don't want to hedge your bets on one of those, because the league's going to be hard. The Champions League's going to be hard. The FA Cup's going to be hard. And you want to stay alive as long as you can in those. So I think this tends to become a blessing in disguise, especially this time of year where they're playing game after game after game, and they're not getting a lot of training sessions. This could open up their schedule, even for 1 or 2 extra training sessions where you can have the guys in, or days off, giving them days off to just rest. So, I'm trying to look at the glass half full for Liverpool, who are obviously very, very good, but not in their best form at the moment.
Yeah. And for Man U, they'll be playing West Ham in the 5th round. Chelsea also won, beating Luton. They'll be playing Barnsley as well. Tottenham plays tomorrow against Wickham. And Bournemouth plays Crawley Town on Tuesday. So still plenty of matches around. Leicester City face Brighton in the 5th round as well. But Man U face West Ham. Anyway, one game in the Premier League on Saturday night as Aston Villa beat Newcastle. It was one of those catch-up games for Villa and Newcastle as well, both being impacted by COVID. Villa, honestly, a training ground routine win for them. Newcastle showed very little once again with Steve Bruce. And I'm wondering, Heath Pearce, Villa, by the way, jumped to 8th with still 2 games in hand. Everything looking good for my boys. But Newcastle, under Steve Bruce, continues to go on the downfall. And I'm wondering, Heath Pearce, how long this will last now. Rafa Benitez leaving China now. He's free. Obviously, he has huge tensions with Mike Ashley, so it's not like, it's going to happen. But I'm wondering, would there ever be a smidgen of hope for Newcastle fans to see Rafa Benitez back, with the Magpies?
Yeah, I mean, I know that there is obviously some tension there, but the best way to clear that tension is to go, let's give this a second chance, because that's how all relationships work out, right? Is give it one more go and see how it works out. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad shout when you think about just the current state of things. Rafa Benitez. I've also heard Rafa Benitez to Celtic as well. Which wouldn't be the worst shout ever either. So no, I think he's going to have his suitors, and so I think he would. I don't know.
Well, listen. What do you think?
Money, by the way.
Yeah, and why do you think that? I mean, listen. I'm just throwing a log into the fire, obviously, of the rumor mill. But to be honest with you, something is very obvious, and this is something, by the way, that I know. Just when Bruce managed Villa, he's a very nice man, very experienced, hardworking, passionate, etc. But he's really limited creatively, and you could see it every single time. And I feel that Newcastle fans need, well, first of all, is about, staying resilient and staying in this Premier League, because they are definitely a conversation for the relegation battle. Absolutely. If they continue like this, 100%, right? And then the second thing is, like you said, Rafa Benitez being in talk maybe for the Celtic job. Maybe, you never know what could happen. But also Eddie Howe. Remember Eddie Howe? He's still, available. They need something to just wake everybody up, because there is talent here. There is a lot of talent. Saint Maximin and Miguel Almiron, Callum Wilson, John Joe Shelby can still, there's still a lot of talent in this team. And they need something to wake themselves up, because I'm telling you right now, they are a relegation intended side, I think.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. The only thing that I agree with everything that you said, and I think that it's a slippery slope, right? And you start to look at the players, like they've had systemic issues for a while now at Newcastle. It hasn't been this positive, bright light. They have kind of their strings of results and things like that. But you're right in the sense that they are intended for the relegation zone and battle. And you start to think like, I do think that if you threw the kitchen sink at Rafa Benitez, he could come in and solve that problem. But then phase 2 is sort of like, then what's next, right? Will you just is for Newcastle and for Newcastle fans and the club and the history of the club good enough to just bring Rafa Benitez back and then finish mid-table next season, survive relegation? Maybe it is, maybe that is the way it should be. But, I think there is that conversation of kind of bigger picture. You can solve this short-term thing, but who is Newcastle going to be? And is it good enough? I'd like to see Newcastle just consistently better, kind of go back to old Newcastle days.
Well, we're going to see exactly what happens to them because on Tuesday they face Leeds, then they have Everton, and then Crystal Palace. You could say, they don't win, you could give them a shout for any of those games, and you could see them losing all of those games. So, let's see what happens. But, I have a soft spot for Newcastle United. Alberto Solano played for them, the first ever Peruvian to make it to the Premier League. I have some family members who are Newcastle fans because of that very reason. It's a very passionate club with very passionate fans. And, you like to see that kind of club, especially in the North, do well. And right now that's not happening. But we'll see what happens. Hey, listen, quick question. Martin Odegaard, basically, heading to your Arsenal here. Fabrizio Romano basically saying, yep, all set and done. A major reason was Mikel Arteta basically convincing the Norwegian to come his way because Real Sociedad were also interested in bringing him back. So that's a pretty good acquisition for a loan move from Real Madrid.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I know that Arsenal's going to have to spend a couple million to get him in on a loan deal. From what I've been reading, Real Madrid preferred an Arsenal move over a Sociedad move. I think that Odegaard also wanted to have conversations with Mikel Arteta about what is his overall role, right? When you're 22, you were a former sort of phenom. You still have a lot of years left to realize a lot of the potential.
22.
Yeah. You're 22 and you're a 6-year pro. You're still 6-7 years out of your prime, potentially. You still have a lot of that potential to be realized, and Arsenal has needs. And so I think there was obviously a healthy conversation that he is going to have a spot to lose in the current form of Arsenal. I can see that. And obviously nothing is given under the pressure of Mikel Arteta, who's got to protect his own job, who's the watchful eye over my shoulder here on the wall. But yeah, I think it could work out for everyone, and then hopefully find a long-term solution for Odegaard, who is yet to really land somewhere and establish his name at a club.
Yep, absolutely. All right, when we come back, one more break, and then we will do a roundup of the rest of Europe. A lot of really interesting results from this weekend. Stay right here. Our final break comes right now. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Qué Golazo, our weekend recap here with Heath Pearce. Heath, let's go now around Europe for a second. Let's go to the Bundesliga, Heath. My God. Well, Bayern Munich, yes, Jonathan Johnson, I'm about to shout you out. You quickly and rightly predicted Schalke would lose 4-0 to Bayern Munich.
Did he really? That's great.
Yes, he did.
Accurate.
I know, but he's so gloaty about it. But I'll let him off. It's fine. You deserve it, JJ. 4-0 to Bayern Munich. And then all these other results, especially the Friday result, Gladbach against Dortmund, Gladbach winning 4-2 against Borussia Dortmund. Leipzig losing as well to Mainz. Heath, what's happening? Who's the second? I mean, listen, Bayern Munich clearly winning this, right? Who's the number 2 team in this league?
It's really hard to say because every time I see Jadon Sancho have a good game or Haaland have a good game, I go, these teams should win the league. They should win the league. Like they're the most Dortmund are so exciting to watch in the attack, and they have actual world-class, lethal, albeit young talent. And again, that's where the consistency or lack thereof comes in. But that's who I consistently think. But then I look at the table, I'm like, they're nowhere close to challenging Bayern for the first place position, let alone a second place position. And then you watch, them fall apart against Gladbach, who have also been inconsistent this year, but were able to put up 4. Thuram scoring his first goal since his I think 6-game suspension for spitting. And the defensive woes of Bayern Munich, of Borussia Dortmund, I worry about it. Set pieces, 2 different set piece moments where they don't track their man. They set the line at a different time. And one of them is Mats Hummels, which that should never come from, but makes you think maybe it's time to go with some more youthful people. And he is a legend before anybody gets mad at me saying that. But at a certain point, I think they need to go younger, especially with the kitchen sink that they throw into the attack and the speed of which they have in the attack. You need people in the back that can put out fires, lead that back line. Granted, the goals didn't come like that this weekend, but I do think it is an issue that they need to address. And then RB Leipzig, same thing. Set pieces. I think it was center back for Mainz that scored 2 of the goals on exact same plays, set pieces, where RB Leipzig can be good over 90 minutes, but they give up a couple of goals and then Mainz end up winning 3-2. It's just a bit of a worry for me. And then Leverkusen, like I'm literally all these teams, they're a mix of youth and veteran players that can't seem to get on the same page every single weekend. And I guess I'm not really answering your question. I don't really know who's going to be second. I look at RB Leipzig and they get enough results week in and week out to be in that conversation just purely on points right now. But when I would love for Dortmund to be in that second position because and again, I don't know, maybe everybody's playing for second now. Nobody's playing for first, which is a really sad song, but yeah, sorry, man.
It's true though. It's true. I mean, listen, and knowing the answer is actually the reason why I asked it in the first place. It's really up for discussion. I mean, you could go, as you mentioned, you could go it by the table itself. Leipzig could be really clearly the number 2 team here. They are second with 3 points over Leverkusen, who's in third. But Wolfsburg, even on points with Leverkusen after that win, just a goal difference situation here. And Dortmund, by the way, it's the end of January. Borussia Dortmund is 7th. Okay. That's worrying for if you want to keep, your certain stars, especially Erling Haaland, exactly. You need to give them Champions League action. If they don't get the Champions League, I know that it's January, but hey, it's the end of January and you don't know what could happen. I mean, Frankfurt is above them, Gladbach, Wolfsburg, Leverkusen, and Leipzig, and of course Bayern Munich. So there are situations here. There is no answer. I think that maybe just because I'm looking at the table, Leipzig remains the number 2 team here, but that could easily change.
Yeah, and it is worth mentioning also, Eintracht Frankfurt are in incredible form right now. I don't remember who they played this weekend, but they battered someone.
They Arminia
Bielefeld, yeah.
5-1.
Yeah, and they've only got 2 losses on the season as well, similar to Wolfsburg and Bayern Munich. So in terms of like keeping in games, and actually Eintracht have given up some points throughout the year that, okay, and I had this argument with guy named Pat who runs Frankfurt social accounts in the US.
Oh,
and
the perfect person to
and he was giving me this argument of like, if they didn't just cough, if there was a few of those games that I was like, that's kind of football though, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
it's like the whole, like if I was 6 inches taller, I could have probably gone far in basketball type of thing. You don't get to have those backs. That's the name of the game. But they were in games, and to have a record where you only have 2 losses right around the halfway point of the season, actually exactly the halfway point of the season, I think is, or a little over the halfway, I think is impressive. And so when you look at the table, Wolfsburg are disrupting things, Frankfurt are disrupting things, and you have Borussia Dortmund that are below them, which is, 7 losses on the season compared to Eintracht Frankfurt, who are on 2 losses. It is a pretty polarizing number. And so I think it's wide open. And now you've added Wolfsburg and Frankfurt into this conversation of who can actually climb and finish second. But by the way, on your point, I do think Leverkusen, who've flown under the radar as usual, have a conversation to be in that second place position, as you mentioned as well.
Yeah, they're only 3 points behind Leipzig. Plenty of opportunity as well. And by the way, Luka Jovic has never looked so happy than when he now playing for Frankfurt on loan from Real Madrid, scoring, by the way, as part of that 5-1 win. All right, let's keep going around Europe. Serie A again looks interesting. AC Milan. We're all predicting a win for Milan here. A tough one. It would have been hard, maybe even a draw. But, Atalanta Gasparini's like, Papu Gomez to Sevilla, I don't care. We have Atalanta winning 3-0, absolutely giving AC Milan a lesson here. But then you would think that, oh, wow, Inter Milan's going to take advantage of this. They get a stalemate this weekend. So the only beneficiaries, really, because Napoli lost as well, are Juventus and Roma, who get some points. So now the Serie A, the Scudetto, looks really intriguing because a big loss for AC Milan in this one.
Yeah, and Juventus are, still 9 points off the pace, but they have a game. They do have a game in hand, and when you think about they're on 19 or 18 games, you have a full. I think I get a little confused right now because of where we're at in the year, right? So you start to think that there's these runaway trends happening, but we're really only at the halfway point of the season, and we're going into late January, and maybe that's normal. I don't really know, but for some reason I feel like we're later in the year and we're not. These teams have literally half of their calendar still to catch up points. And when you think about potentially 6 points, let's say we give Juventus the win, they're only 6 points off of the pace, and that's 2 losses for anybody for the rest of the year. And Juventus are back in form, or at least more consistent form. And then Inter Milan, I think they were held scoreless
0-0 against Udinese. Udinese, who, by the way, Udinese, a very good side defensively, and you knew that they were going to be difficult to break down, but Inter Milan got that stalemate. But yes, Udinese tied with Inter Milan. They couldn't get any points. AC Milan lose. Juventus gained some ground. And the thing is, in our weekend preview, we were like, this is over for Juventus.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing is that AC Milan lost to Juventus recently, and they bounced back immediately. Okay. You're playing against Juventus. Okay. You give up those points, but we're still AC Milan. We're still in form, blah, blah, blah. But if you watch the way AC Milan lost to Atalanta this weekend, Atalanta were better in every single position across the board. They had more energy. Fantastic. Their transition was better. They had better ideas. Now Atalanta are, I think, 1 goal off of being the top scoring team again in Serie A. They are in just really, really good form. And they had a chance to put that to bed, or put that to rest, at least, AC Milan being sort of the top team in the league. And they didn't. They were completely flat. And this is where I start to worry. When you go back to Juventus, you're like, oh, okay, it's Juventus, move on. Not a big deal. The AC Milan didn't play exceptionally well, but they didn't play poor. They were really poor against Atalanta, and that is worrying to me. And then you have Inter Milan just behind them, who had a chance to do something of it and were held scoreless. Another team that I think they haven't been held scoreless all season long. Or I could be wrong on that stat, so don't quote me on it. But have been scoring regularly, are currently the highest scoring team in the league. So yeah, it's just again one of these things that maybe the story isn't written yet, and we're halfway through the season, and it'll be interesting to see now AC Milan if they can bounce back. But the form that they had in that game was the biggest indicator to me that perhaps they're hitting a wall, or perhaps I just hope they don't go into a dip, because it's fun to see them and Inter Milan way out in front of Juventus at the moment.
Yeah, you're correct, by the way. That was Inter Milan's first stalemate in a very, very long time. And I think the narrative of Serie A right now is a little similar to, what ultimately determines anybody's title hopes, which is, it's not so much what you do against the big teams. It's the teams that you should be winning, or you should be getting 3 points, and you just don't. And, Inter Milan not getting anything out of Udinese game, could say something, because Udinese, as resilient as they are, they're still 14th in the league. Like, it's not like, this is a game that Inter Milan, second in the table, should be winning. And AC Milan, there's no shame in losing to Atalanta, but losing that way is a big. So with Juventus winning, right, against Bologna, games that you should be winning at home, etc., those could be the determinators when you essentially try and win the Scudetto. And I think that's going to be a major part of it.
By the way, that's the main reason why I agree with your argument on Weston Mckennie, is they played Bologna over the weekend, and Weston Mckennie is one of the best players on the field. Again, right. Our mindset and perspective has completely shifted from hoping that he gets in the game, to hoping that he plays, to hoping that somebody says something good about him, to being like, no, he's actually one of the best players on the field, and he scores in a game where Juventus have to win those games all season long, right? They're fundamentally necessary for them to have any chance. And they're sort of They can be ugly and they can be scrappy games, but he came through and pulled his weight and did really well in those. So sorry to bring up that point again, but that's it meant to support your point of saying that like you have to win against the non-big teams if you want to have any shot.
Hey, listen, anytime you want to come up with something that supports anything that I say, you can say it whenever you want. You can call me at 3 a.m. and say that. It doesn't matter. I'm always going to be happy about that, so don't worry about it. All right, in Spain, in La Liga, Real Madrid and Barcelona both win. And as we're taping, Atletico Madrid hasn't kicked off yet against Valencia. But regardless of what happens in that result, they'll still lead La Liga with still games in hand. So, that's still tight. But, first, second, third is looking more familiar to everybody. Barcelona in third, Real Madrid in second, Atleti in first. So we'll keep an eye on that one. But that's it. That's our wrap up. That pretty much covered it. And see, this is what happens when it's just two people. We just get on with it. I miss you, Jimmy. I'm kidding. I miss you.
There's no, when Jimmy's not here, there's no, hold on a second. Let's go back. Jimmy, we're just move. When you're not here, we just move forward. We move forward, put your finger down. We know that Luis comes from a background of education. His wife's in education, but put your hand down. There's no questions today.
If you watch this show on YouTube, every time Jimmy wants to say something, he's like, he puts his hand down and I'm like, I know, Jim. I know. No, I love him. We love him. We can't wait to have him back. Listen, final thoughts from you, Heath Pearce. Anything from this weekend that maybe we have missed or anything that you're looking ahead to? By the way, Coppa Italia Milan derby on Tuesday. We got the final week of transfer window in the UK. It extends a little bit in the rest of Europe. We have plenty more games of the Premier League during the week, et cetera, et cetera. The United States women's national team were convincing against Colombia twice. So many things to talk. Anything that you wanted to bring up before we say goodbye?
My only thing is that it's been fun to watch Fabrizio get sucked into the U.S. soccer Twitter sphere over the speculative of who said what and who said what first, with Brian Reynolds moving to which club, which was pretty fun. And he should learn that U.S. soccer Twitter is a place that you just want to avoid it, because this is like what England's Twitter was for a decade, the self-deprecating, woe is us, ready to bite off everyone's head. And now they've turned the corner. We need to also, but also the women's national team, good wins against Colombia. But with these rumors around the Olympics potentially not taking place, could we be seeing the end of an era earlier than I thought? I don't know. Those are my closing thoughts, just throwing some things out for people to ponder on, as they go into their week.
Well, I really hope the Olympics happen in one way or form, obviously with everybody being safe and everything, but a very good point about the giant, the Goliath that is the United States women's national team and what could happen to them within this year and the next, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, there's no shortage in talent. That's for damn sure. I mean, look at Katarina Macario. My God, what a talent she is. She's ridiculous.
And also, by the way, we are potentially what people are saying is our golden generation, but now we've lost the U17 World Cup. We've lost the U20 World Cup. We've now potentially, and I'm not going to speculate on Olympics, but if you lost the Olympics, you're again losing very official competitions that could be hugely important for testing ourselves and getting real legitimate minutes for young players against the best in the world that aren't friendlies, that are high pressure environments that help to shape who they will be as players, right? High pressure, high risk, high reward type of situations, knockout type of play. And when you lose those, we saw before with our missing generation in U.S. soccer history, you have the potential to lose it. Granted, we didn't qualify in those, and this is different, but you want to challenge, you want to have those check-in and checkpoints to see, we can call ourselves as good as we want because we have 11 players playing at big clubs around the world, but that means nothing if those players can't come together and challenge themselves against other national teams, even if it's at the Olympic level or youth national team level. Yep. I rest.
No, that's it. You rest. And you know what? That is a perfect way to end today's pod. Heath Pearce, thank you so much, my man.
Thanks for having me.
I want to thank Heath Pearce for joining me today. Don't forget to listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. You can also listen to us on cbssports.com. Follow us on Twitter, Qué Golazo Pod. We'll have Fabrizio Romano tomorrow, and we'll have so much more as we give you plenty of content from Qué Golazo. Have a great beginning to your week.